What's the purpose of your story? What do you want your story to do for you? I'm Tina B, founder and chief communicator of Tina B LLC, a public speaking and storytelling coaching company, and I protect audiences from boring speeches. And today I want to focus in on this idea of 3 tips of how you can best use story and how to do that in your presentations. The first of these is that you can use a story to hook or close your speech in a very poignant way. For example, I presented to a group of small business owners 3 C's for sharing story. And in that way, I started and hooked my audience with how my grandma Shirley was one of the best storytellers I knew, and expressed a moment in time where I remember her reading one of my favorite books, Mr. Grabbit, and how that transformed my life from understanding the importance of being kind and generous and not greedy. And so I opened with that story. I've also used an example or story rather when I've closed a presentation with meeting Dr. John, a South African doctor, and how he taught me when we were in the Serengeti in a Jeep the importance of always being curious and always asking questions. And I share that moment of that conversation when we're seeing a lion out in the wild and what that experience was for me. So when you use story to start or end a presentation, it's such a great tool to hook your audience or to have them think about something in a different way, to leave them with this pow. The second tip is that stories can illustrate a point. My husband gave this really powerful presentation several months back, and when he was wanting to express the importance of soil health. And he used a story when our 3-year-old son was out and about doing chores, and he put a big handful of treated soybeans almost in his mouth. And my husband just knocked his hand down and said, "No, don't put that in your mouth." And my son, without even thinking, said, "Well, Dad, isn't that food?" And that was a life-changing moment for him where he thought, okay, I don't want to poison not just my son, but people. And so this idea of treated soybeans is not a good practice. So he used story to illustrate how his agricultural practices evolved and changed, and how we should be thinking differently in terms of diversifying our plants and livestock. So stories can illustrate a point. The third tip, in addition to hooking your audience at the beginning or end or illustrating a point, is that you can break up the monotony with story in the middle of your presentation. So many times audiences get restless. They've been sitting, they've been listening to you, and they're kind of in that drone of hearing your voice, almost like the Charlie Brown wah, 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 wah. Why not break it up in the middle? When I shared a presentation about how to boost your business and best ways and practices to do that, I talked about Milton Hershey and how he failed and failed and failed until his perseverance got him to succeed. And it was through this story that it really broke up the content of humanizing getting through the failure, that it was feedback rather than failure, and how we as business owners need to understand that we're going to fail and we can learn from that. And why not learn from Milton Hershey and his experience? Stories create suspense. They also up the audience's curiosity. And when you do a story, think about how you want to express yourself, that it's such a powerful persuasive tool, and that stories are a compelling way to not only engage your audience, but also evoke empathy and emotion, as well as increase the trust and motivate your audience to do something with the information. So what do you do with your story? Will it be hook your audience, close in a poignant way? Will it be to break up the monotony? Or will it just be, hey, I want you to understand this idea in a more clear way? Use story. This has been Tips with Tina B. And for more information, don't hesitate to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Magnetic Speaking with Tina B.